In this assignment, we're going to use some landscape paintings by Georgia O'Keeffe as inspiration for our artwork. Notice some things that we will want to create in our artwork today. She has created a foreground, middle ground, and background in all of these examples. So objects that are in the front, in the middle, and in the back. In each one we have different levels of space, so even multiple different levels. This is a plane of space that is very close. Got another one a little bit farther away, another plane of space, and then we have these mountains in the back. So we can have more than 3 levels of space. In this one we have these trees that are close to us in the foreground, a lake in the middle ground, and back here we have the mountains in the background. Notice that each of the items that is in the foreground is lowest on the page and are the biggest, and the objects that are in the middle ground are smaller than the things that are in front in relation to the things that are here in the foreground, and the things that are way back here in the back are not going to have as much detail and are generally smaller. So for example, the trees here in the foreground, we can see all the details, but the trees that are covering these mountains, we don't even see any tree shapes. It is just color that's all blended together to indicate the color of the trees. Please also note that Georgia O'Keeffe has been using some very exaggerated and bright colors in her landscape. Some of them look more natural, but they are very vibrant and colorful, and extra colors that you might not think would normally go in a landscape have been added, such as these pinks for this clay in the mountains, and mixing our greens and our warm colors here to show the changing of the leaves. So let's plan on using some unexpected colors in our landscape today to create a more interesting landscape. So let's get ready with your pencil and paper to create your own landscape inspired by these Georgia O'Keeffe examples. The drawing I'm going to show you today is simply one example of how we could create our landscape. Please, I would encourage you to change your landscape up a little bit with different objects or changing the way you're drawing things to make yours unique. I'm simply going to show you how to start your drawing with creating our foreground, our middle ground, and our background. If you'd like to make some details different than mine, that is perfectly acceptable. We're going to start down here with the objects that are in the foreground and that are going to be the biggest. I'm going to add some trees down here that are going to be in the foreground. So down here I just used some organic shapes with some lines to indicate branches. Like I said, this is just one style of drawing these things. If you would like to draw them a different way, that is acceptable. Just make sure that they are big and low down here on this page. Now to create my next level of space, I want to draw a line to indicate that separation. So I've left mine kind of wavy. We don't want any of these lines to be too straight, as that would be a little bit unnatural for a landscape. Natural lines, straight lines do not appear in nature too often. And so this space can become a field of sand, like in this picture up here, just by changing the color, or it could be a body of water like a lake, such as in this picture here. You may choose what you would like it to be. I am going to add an extra level of farther away space here, just one extra little hill back there behind it, and then I'm going to add another organic sort of bumpy line on top of there to be a group of trees that are very far away. I can't even see all the individual details inside there. It's just going to be some trees. And we can indicate what things are a little better when we go to color them in. And the last thing I'm going to put in my very background is going to be some mountains. I want to make my mountains a little bit pointier to contrast against that bumpy line that I just created. So I'm going to make them kind of jagged in some places and change them up so there's variety to my line. And now to create a three-dimensional effect that you can shade in with different values, we can go on the right side of each mountain and add an extra shape to the side. So I'm starting at the peak of each mountain and I'm adding an extra triangular sort of shape to the side of each of these mountain outcrops. And that's going to help make my mountains look a little bit 3D. I can add extra shapes in here that I can shade in later and use to create more value if I want. Just extra shapes. Can use, again, the Georgia O'Keeffe ones to give you some inspiration on how you might want to do this. Just going to sketch in these different areas to show where I'm going to shade in some different colors to show even more texture in these mountains. If you'd like to add anything in your sky up here, like clouds, you can do that. Be sure to create a lot of variety in the shapes. You don't want them all to look the same. I like to make my clouds a little flat on the bottom. I think it looks a little bit more interesting than creating just that puffy cotton ball shape for the clouds. But each cloud shape can be different. They're all different, and notice if you make them bigger and smaller, we can still show even more space by creating some clouds that are closer and some farther away. Just make sure that none of them are in front of your mountains. If you'd like to add any objects inside of your landscape here on the field or in your body of water, you're welcome to do that as well. Or you can simply leave it and add textures inside to show the field of the grass or the texture of the water. Whatever it is that you want to put in there, just make sure that it is to scale. So if you have a house or a person, if it's in this middle section, it would not be very large. It would be pretty small, in fact. So if I wanted a house to be sitting way back here, let's say we've got a lake, let me go ahead and put some textured lines to indicate water here for you. So if this is water and we have a house here, maybe it would be pretty small. Okay. You may use any combination of materials that you have to complete this landscape. I mainly used marker, colored pencil, and color stick, which is basically colored pencil without the wood. Please make sure that you are including textures. I've used pattern to create textures in multiple different areas of my picture. Please use the marker for anything that you want to stand out to be brighter and bolder, and to use your colored pencil or your crayon for anything that you are going to blend together to create your value changes. So you must be creating some patterns to show the textures, and I want to see everyone showing some value changes. That could happen by blending a lighter color and a darker color together, or simply using the same color with harder and lighter pressure. Please use this example and the Georgia O'Keeffe examples for how you can mix different colors together to create some interesting and unexpected combinations to make your landscape more interesting. For the rest of the video, I will show a sped up example of some different techniques that you could use color and value to finish your landscape.